Titanic, Real Testimonials. Part 3. In the plot of the Titanic's sinking, some characters begin to shed light on the tragic events that occurred throughout the ship's history. Thomas Andrews, the chief engineer who requested the removal of over 30 lifeboats from the ship's deck. The obscure allegations of negligence made by engineer Alexander Carlisle and a captain who, consumed by guilt, decided to go down with the ship. The lies upheld in testimonies claiming the ship had not broken apart. Murdoch, the first officer falsely accused of committing suicide, and an optical illusion that concealed the iceberg, as reported by Frederick Fleet. Now, get ready, we're going to hear the true stories of two survivors, Bruce Ismay, the director of the White Star Line, and Violet Jessop, the unsinkable woman. But first, help us continue producing our videos. Just subscribe to our channel, like our productions, and share them with your friends. We appreciate it.
I am Bruce Ismay, the director of the White Star Line, the company that built the world's largest ocean liners. We created the most luxurious ships ever seen in history, aiming to serve the upper class and European aristocracy. However, the Titanic also provided the best accommodations for second and third class passengers. I was not the villain in the story of the Titanic's sinking. The controversy regarding the reduction of lifeboats on the Titanic stemmed from compliance with the Board of Trade regulations, which required up to 16 lifeboats for ships of the Titanic's size. However, we maintained 20 lifeboats, 4 more than required by the Board of Trade. As usual, I accompanied the Titanic on its maiden voyage and noted some areas for improvement. Some passengers claimed they saw me pressuring Captain Smith to increase the Titanic's speed to arrive in New York a day earlier, a baseless accusation never proven. I did what many would do in my situation once it was clear the ship would sink before any rescue arrived. I boarded the collapsible lifeboat C, which was launched about 20 minutes before the ship went down. In those final moments, I turned away, unable to watch the failure of such a grand enterprise. Our lifeboat was rescued 4 hours later. Aboard the Carpathia in a state of shock, I was taken to the ship's doctor's cabin. Without eating anything, I was sedated and remained there until we reached New York. The medical report noted, Ismay stared into space, trembling like a leaf. When I spoke to him, he did not respond. I have never seen a man so utterly broken. After the sinking, I was severely criticized by the British and American press, labeled a coward for abandoning the ship with so many people still on board, while Captain Edward Smith, who stayed with the Titanic and perished, was hailed as a hero. What few know is that I strictly followed the maritime principle of women and children first, and helped many of them into lifeboats. Only when there was no one else left to board did I step into a lifeboat. I was beside Mr. William Carter of first class, and we both saw that there were no more women and children around for that specific boat. Engulfed in criticism and depression, I resigned from my position as president of the White Star Line, but not before ensuring all possible compensations for the survivors. I became a solitary man, haunted by the shadow of the Titanic, and there wasn't a single day I didn't think about how I could have prevented the disaster. In December 1936, one of my grandchildren asked if I'd ever been involved in a maritime accident. I replied that I had once been aboard a ship believed to be unsinkable. My health declined significantly in the 1930s due to diabetes. In 1936, the disease led to the amputation of my right leg. On the morning of October 14, 1937, I suffered a stroke that left me unconscious, blind, and mute. I died 3 days later, on October 17, 1937, at the age of 74. Only then could I rest in peace.
Bruce Ismay claimed until his last days that the Titanic had not broken apart. For many, this insistence was a way to maintain the grand image of the quality of the vessels built by the White Star Line. The truth is that recent tests confirmed the Titanic had no structural flaws. On the contrary, the Titanic exceeded all expectations of resilience and agility, staying afloat for more than 2 hours after the collision with the iceberg. Bruce Ismay truly fought to ensure that all the families of the victims of the sinking were compensated. His survival was indeed significant and served a noble purpose. Now let's meet a person who has become synonymous with survival in famous shipwrecks. But first, have you liked the video yet? Subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. We're counting on you.
Hello, I'm Violet Jessop, and I worked as a stewardess for the White Star Line. At the age of 23, I began my career with the Royal Mail Line, and later I moved to the White Star Line. On my first voyage aboard the RMS Olympic, the twin sister ship of the Titanic, the vessel collided with the British warship, the HMS Hawke. Despite the accident, the Olympic managed to return to port safely. I believe this incident reinforced the perception that both the Olympic and the Titanic were unsinkable due to their watertight compartment technology. This was my first accident on a ship. The following year, I was assigned to work on the iconic Titanic. What was supposed to be one of the greatest voyages in history turned into a matter of life and death for me. I remember often encountering our esteemed architect Thomas Andrews, walking around the ship during my rounds. With a tired but satisfied expression, he always greeted us and spoke about missing his family and his love for his home in Ireland. During the voyage, I met the Scottish violinist Jock Hume, with whom I formed a strong friendship. On the night of the sinking, I was comfortably sleepy in my bed when the ship struck an iceberg. I was ordered to get up and quickly go to the deck. On my way, I witnessed some women being torn from their husbands and placed in lifeboats with their children. During the evacuation, I encountered Mr. Thomas Andrews, who asked me to help passengers with their life jackets. Before the Titanic was completely swallowed by the ocean, I was placed in one of the lifeboats, and an unknown baby was handed to me. We drifted through the night until the next morning, when the Carpathia rescued us. Once aboard the Carpathia, a woman who claimed to be the child's mother took the baby away without saying anything. The trauma of being on the Titanic stayed with me for the rest of my life, marking the second maritime disaster of my career. When World War I began, I was called upon by the British Red Cross to serve as a nurse, working aboard the Britannic, which had been converted into a hospital ship. In 1916, I was on board the Britannic when it hit a mine. To save myself, I had to jump into a lifeboat, and during the leap, I suffered a severe head injury, a traumatic experience that caused me pain for the rest of my life. I survived my third maritime accident and became known as the unsinkable lady. For many years, I was repeatedly called to testify about what happened on the night of the Titanic's sinking. There was immense pressure to state that the ship had not broken apart. I remember responding on some occasions that I did not recall. At the age of 60, I finally retired and lived comfortably in my home until I was 84 years old.
Violet is truly a woman of courage. Surviving 3 shipwrecks and a head injury is no small feat. And what about you? Would you have the courage to board another ship if you had survived the sinking of the Titanic? Let us know. We want to hear from you. Well, my friends, once again, thank you very much for following Brugger Films. A well-deserved like makes all the difference, and we count on your help to share our videos with your friends. Comment below on which topics you're curious to see on the channel. We are always striving to improve the quality of the videos in English for you. A big hug, and we'll see you in the next productions. See you soon.